Hey guys, it's Rachel from The Little Green Lamb, and today I have a book review on X vs. Y, A Culture War, A Love Story by Eve Epstein and Leonora Epstein, or Epstein. I'm not sure how you pronounce the last name, but this book was super good. This is a nonfiction book, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do a review on it, so I'm going to be rating it in a different way because it's not a fiction book, and I have my little notes down here if I'm looking down. This is not really a book that I could really spoil anything for, but I'm going to tell you certain subject matter that they deal with, but not in great detail. Because these are like a compilation of essays, and I had to think of that word, essays. So basically, this book really analyzed the Generation X and Generation Y cultures. Right now, Generation Z is taken over, and basically, they say at the beginning, there's a gray area. So basically, X, I'm going to read this to you so it kind of clarifies things, because I can't really explain this in my own words. X versus Y, which is which? Ask Google which birth years define Generation X or Generation Y, and you'll come up with a lot of different answers. In our conversations, we've turned to treat Gen X as folks born in the mid-60s to late 70s, and Millennials, Gen Yers, as people born around the early 80s to the late 90s. In speaking of friends of both generations, we found a distinct gray area where people born between 1979 and 1984 or so felt either that they were members of neither generation or that they were in a position to choose. So basically, there's some gray area, but a lot of it deals with 90s stuff, which I really do enjoy because I do love 90s television stuff. I was very young, like I was born in 1995, so before 2000 hit, I was only 5 years, like I was turning 5 in 2000. But I remember like a lot of 90s shows were on repeat on the channels when I was younger growing up, and I remember when I was little, like certain things, like I was rewatching Sabrina the Teenage Witch on DVD, and I remembered an episode, and I couldn't remember where I saw it, and I remembered it was probably when I was little because my older sister used to watch it and I used to play in the TV room while she was watching, and I remembered a certain scene. I was like, how do I remember this? But yeah, I just really like that. And I like to learn more about history, even though this isn't far back. It's still the history of pop culture and stuff, which I found very interesting. And yeah, I was very excited to delve into this. So basically, I gave this a 4 out of 5. Not for plot, but for content, I would say. I really like the content. Some of it I wasn't very interested in. Certain things like fashion and stuff like that. It's not that I wasn't interested in it. It was kind of hard to visualize. But I think they could have added some more pictures to the fashion section because certain things I didn't know what they were referencing. Silence. Sorry. Certain things I didn't really understand what they were referencing because I didn't know. So I looked at the Google images, but that was the only complaint I really have with the book. Some sections I thought were a little excessive, but I really loved like the TV section, the music section. Basically the electronics was interesting, and even the books I found very interesting, and movies. It was only really the fashion section that I found a little dry. But obviously that had to, before I go on, obviously that had to be included though because fashion was a big part of those time periods, a staple obviously in any time period. So instead of characters, we have two personalities, and these are two sisters, and they're born, I believe it says they're born 14 years apart. And so we had Generation X sister and Generation Y, and I rated the Generation X sister a 3.5, and that's maybe because I'm being a little, what is it called, biased, because I think would be considered a millennial because I was born in the 90s. And also a lot of the things that this Gen Y was talking about I actually know and could reference in my own head. But I gave her a 3.5, the Gen Xer, because some of the things I couldn't understand, and I really liked the other writing style, the other girl better, but I really liked her take on things. I found it interesting to see how she kind of viewed the Gen Yers, even the Gen Zers, because it's very interesting to see how like people older than me would view like kind of like Gen Yers. So moving on to the Gen Y, I think it was very interesting to see that take and see how that generation kind of took the Gen Xers and the Gen Zers, and I find it very interesting, especially I forgot to say this is the Gen X, where I gave the other girl a 4.5 because I could relate more, but with the Gen Xer, sorry this is getting really confusing, with her writing I found it very interesting to see something, because usually I hear a lot about the Gen Yers judging the Gen Zers and saying like, even like a lot of pop culture, like for example Disney Channel. I personally agree that I really loved the shows like Lizzie McGuire, That's a Raven, those were in the 2000s though. And like some of the stuff in the 90s I really loved too. I can't even think of any examples right now. That would be, I don't know if accurately correct representation. I think The Weekenders would count, and Recess and stuff. I believe that was in the 90s. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, like people saying, I don't know if this counts as an argument, but people saying even old Disney, new Disney sucks, old Disney's better. I don't really like a lot of the shows in new Disney because that's probably because I'm getting older, and obviously, like, I'm older. Like, I don't really enjoy kids programming anymore. But that's kind of how I saw the Gen X being the Gen Y, because a lot of people defend, they're like, 90s is the best, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I'm not fighting against that topic, but it's interesting to see how other people view that generation, because most of the stuff I hear is about people criticizing the new generation's pop culture compared to the old pop culture. And it's very interesting. I'm not saying either one's better than the other one, because each has their different pluses and minuses. Cover, I give a 5/5. Cover is one of the things that drew me to this book, especially the different colors in the back and the different colors in the front. Also, when I saw that this had on the front the things that drew me in, because there's like words in the bubbles. So the things that drew me in definitely were like Spice Girls, Destiny's Child, no doubt, Marc Jacobs, Beverly Hills 90210, The Muppets, Dawson's Creek, Saved by the Bell, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I haven't read that, but like, and then I saw Harry Potter and stuff, so I thought I was interested they were going to move into modern culture of reading. We'll just leave it at that. And then all the video games, so like Nintendo, Apple, Atari, and then the movies like Heathers, The Breakfast Club, The Princess Bride, Clueless, Mean Girls, Titanic, Garden State. I found it very interesting. I liked how they delved into big movies and stuff like that, and like a lot of big pop culture things. That's what really attracted me to this, and not only was it a really pretty cover, and yeah. So, not suspense, but for keeping to read, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5, because this is one of those books that most people will probably just pick up and read a chapter every week or so, or a chapter every day. But since I was doing a booktubeathon, I read this basically in a 24-hour period, and I give it a 3.5 because it wasn't something that you're dying to pick up, but certain sections you're like, ooh, I want to see what happens. And typically I try to finish a section, so like I finished the movie section, I think, and I went to bed for that night, and then I woke up the next morning and read the next section. So it's one of those things you read section to section, but if you're in the middle section, you want to finish that section before moving on, if that makes sense. And overall, I give it a 4 out of 5. Like, it was a really good read. Definitely something that'd be good for reference, and definitely something like a little bit of a throwback to see what life was like back then, even though that's not very far away. But it's very interesting to learn about, and I found this to be a very good learning experience, especially since I'm not only learning about the past, but I'm learning about pop culture, which I'm very interested in. And also, I just took a communication class in the summer, so a lot of the stuff that they were talking about, like certain things, I could really relate back to what I learned in communications class, so it was expanding my knowledge a bit. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it overall. So that has been my review. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.